All right, peace and blessings. This is Brother Sharif with the Hour of Power. Go to Hour of Power, Sharif Hamid on YouTube. Subscribe and share the channel so we can continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people. I am here in Durham, North Carolina with my good brother Yai at his new spot. I'm gonna let him tell you about it, his new vegan restaurant. And we're here in Durham, North Carolina. He's going to strategically tell you where to find his place. So again, introduce yourself, brother.
Greetings, I'm Brother Yai Assault Tafari Ahmed, head chef and co-owner of Vegan Flavor Cafe. As you know, we have been setting up for our Blue Dogwood Market in Chapel Hill, downtown Chapel Hill location.
Right.
That's still happening.
Okay.
That's in full effect. That's 306 West Franklin Street, Blue Dogwood Market. That's at the promenade on the corner of Franklin Street and Millette Avenue.
Okay.
So now we have this tremendous opportunity here at 1720 Guest Road on the property of Northfield Mall, but not in the mall. We're actually on the same side. We're around the corner from Sky Zone and Planet Fitness. Now a lot of our Planet Fitness folks are right around the corner.
Okay.
So, and then we're a couple of doors down from Budget Rent-A-Car. And we face the park that's right across the street.
But you're actually on the Guest Road side, so depending which way, if you're coming from in town, you would make a right into
the parking lot, and then make an immediate left.
Right.
To get to our
But
store.
if you're coming from like North Durham, you'll make a left to get in.
You'll make a left into the parking lot, and then make the immediate left where you see the storefronts. It's it's right next to where Jade Express used to be.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. And is there a particular name for the name of this location?
So this is Vegan Flavor Cafe. We don't know if we're gonna call this number 1 or number 2.
Right.
But this is the Durham, the new home of the Durham Vegan Flavor Cafe.
Right.
So that's the most important thing.
Right. You want to let the listening audience know some of the things that you're going to offer, food and product wise?
So you're gonna have a lot of my favorites, a lot of your favorites. The lentil special, the 2 tasty tacos, the baked spaghetti, the barbecue jackfruit, the fish cakes. One of the things that we're excited about is I'm working on the raw pizza for you all. And
okay.
I promise you.
What would you say it's called again?
It's a raw, live pizza.
Wow. Okay.
And just like everything else, it is delicious and nutritious, full of flavor. And we're very excited about being able to expand the menu and do more of the live foods that maintain the integrity of flavor that we like to provide.
Okay. Any other like programs or any other products? I know at the other location you had some products there before. Anything like that in the workings, or are you still working on this thing?
We have 2 new products. We have my new book.
Oh, okay.
Is Your Self-Worth Pseudo or Sincere? And then we have...
Can you show that book to us, brother, while we're talking? Can you get it?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So you have my book.
Right.
Is Your Self-Worth Pseudo or Sincere? And then you have my wife's book. Which is Unwounded, Unlocking the Universal Uterus.
Right. Can you briefly give a brief explanation of both books, or can your wife explain that?
Yeah, I'm sure she can build on her book.
Okay.
But what I will tell you about my book is I worked on this book for a long time, not realizing that it was this book I was working on. What I can tell you about this book is the concept of self-worth as it pertains to everything that we do, say, even think, or things that we don't do or don't say. It's tied into the answer to the question, is your self-worth pseudo or sincere? There is not an area of life where you can escape this question. And when you answer this question and you start to make the necessary changes to maximize the sincere self-worth and depress the pseudo self-worth practices that we engage in, you can change lives, you can change worlds with this concept. So I'm very proud of this and look forward to folks reading it and applying it to themselves. It is really about being honest with yourself, though. You can't be honest with yourself, this book doesn't work for you.
Brother, would you say the book is based on, just for the listening audience, based on spirituality? Would it be kind of in that area?
There's certainly some spirituality applied to it, but there's also practicality. For instance,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The President of the United States of America
Mm-hmm.
has certainly achieved enough to have sincere self-worth. He's able to celebrate himself and his accomplishments. Simultaneously, if you look at his practices, you will notice that he does a lot to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you're doing things just to get attention,
Mm-hmm.
that's a strong hint that you're operating out of pseudo self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
So, from the President of the United States on down to my 3-year-old, I can look at her and see opportunities to strengthen her sincere self-worth, which she possesses, but also maneuver around that pseudo self-worth, which we taught her
Mm-hmm.
to have. And that's one of the things I talk about in the book. We teach the children to have pseudo self-worth, because that's how we get them acquainted with the idea of self-worth.
Okay.
Then, ideally, they grow out of it. Ideally, we grow out of it. But many of us are children walking around as adults.
Right. And you had made mention a couple minutes ago about how it could address depression. So I work in counseling now, so that's really gets my attention. Can you address how it addresses that issue in our lives, especially with our people dealing with depression?
One of the things I learned was, in writing this book, suicide rates tend to double very easily the rates of homicide.
Mm-hmm.
So more people are taking themselves out of this physical existence than being taken out. And we always hear about homicides.
Mm-hmm.
So that left a lasting impression. And as I looked at the self-worth piece, I realized that when you don't have a value for yourself, or you don't feel valued by others, then you don't have a reason to live. So sometimes depression will directly lead to suicide. Sometimes it's going to have some other impacts where you're still alive, but you're dealing heavily with depression, as you well know.
Right.
But when you're able to tap into your sincere self-worth, when you're able to tap into why you are valuable, and recognize, most importantly, why you're valuable to you, you're able to move the other people who are distractions out of the way. The people who are not influencing you and encouraging you in a manner that allows you to celebrate that. Start to move those people out of the way with their distractions. You might present something about yourself where you feel great about it, and then somebody shoots you down, figuratively. They might as well have done it literally.
Right.
So, absolutely.
Do you see the suicide rates going up in the black community? Because that used to be kind of a taboo thing in the black community. Do you, from your experience and observation, do you see that being more of an issue in the black community, suicide?
It's happening. It's cross-cultural. It's pretty much throughout the world, with the exception of a few places, Puerto Rico, interestingly, being one of them. Now, that was before the hurricane. I'm not sure how people are dealing now, but it's pretty phenomenal how many people don't value themselves enough to maintain this physical life experience.
I can definitely see the worth of that book. Now, your wife's book, The Unwombed, do you want to explain it, or you want to have her explain it?
I certainly want to have her explain it. Because this is part of her passion. So, ma'am, would you like to come and represent your product, your resource? I'll go ahead. We can do an exchange. 3-year-old is here.
We always want them.
If you can lift her, move her out of the way, because you're pretty strong. I'm watching you. I see you work out.
Yeah, you know I'm shy.
We go. So we have the queen here. Introduce yourself, young lady.
Yes. So I am Mahuru Amin.
Okay.
And this is my latest book, Unwounded, Unlocking the Universal Uterus.
Okay.
And so, my first book was What's in Your Womb.
Right.
And it basically asked the question of dealing with relationships, past relationships, how we developed in the womb, and then what we pick up from our environment. So this book now takes it a step further in a way, has nothing to do with relationships or anything. It has to do with what we actually are carrying as female entities or beings holding female bodies.
So this is strictly for the sisters, this book?
It's strictly for the sisters.
Wow, we need that.
Well, but you know, it's interesting. There was a point in time with What's in Your Womb where I had all brothers reading the book. So I would recommend also for the brothers to take a look at it, because it definitely has some things, you know, I'm never one-sided and, you know, I'm not a feminist or anything like that. However, you know, this is the gateway. The female body is the gateway for everyone. Okay, and so we have to start there. As we know, melanated women have the highest rate of fibroid, uterine fibroids, low birth rate, you know, cervical cancers and uterine cancers. And part of that is from, of course, post-traumatic slave syndrome. You know, it is stored in the creation center. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of that is the hurt and pain from the ancestors and things like that. However, who we really are, you know, the portals that we carry, reproduction is a function of the uterus. It's not the function. And it is a very sacred function. So when we are using it, when we are exchanging energy, we want to think about how we're carrying our feminine system and what mode it's in. And so this book goes into different modes, and a lot of information in this book was inspired by Dr. Jewel Pook, because she has been talking about this for years, 20 or something years.
Did you say Joyce DeGruy?
Jewel Pookrum.
Oh, okay,
yes.
okay.
So she's an OBGYN.
Right.
And you know, 7 circuits of the brain, vitamins and minerals from A to Z. But a lot of her early work, she basically was, you know, telling the sisters about their feminine system and, you know, uterine fibroids and things like that. And actually, she has a couple of books that she's pulled out. She like Prince. She pulls books out of her vault, you know.
Okay.
So she has some books coming up as well on uterine fibroid and breast care that we'll be seeing come on board. But so there are different functions of the uterus. Also, how we use it, this is broken down into a science of how, for example, we have 2 ovaries. The people in the medical profession know that each ovary does something different. And from a practical standpoint, as sisters, we know, you know, I don't know, this might be too much for brothers, but sisters know you have a different cycle each month. You know, like one cycle might be heavy, one might be light. Okay, so that's an indication of how they do 2 different things. So in this book, we actually put that on a grid that our ancestors left. Our Olmec ancestors left this grid of the brain. And when I looked at it, what I saw was the feminine system. So we replotted it, put it on there, and we indicate what each of those ovaries do. You know, one side deals with, of course, the beginning of things, primordial energy and things like that. The other side deals with continuing the remembrance of that energy. Okay, and then the male section, the male portion, deals with awakening those sections. So it just kind of makes sense when I actually looked at it and plotted it and really went through and defined what they're called mental spheres. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And our ancestors left this information for us. So that is also in. And so this is really, like I said, it's called Unwounded, you know, unlocking the universal uterus. And so what we do here is give you an introduction on looking at yourself a little differently, looking at what you carry and what you can do with it. And so there are actually 2 volumes that will follow this.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
And real quick, sister, I don't want to hold you too long. I think you had broke this down to me before the new listening audience. The study that they came out with, I think it was from Harvard. I'm not sure, where they said that the woman will carry the DNA of all the men that they slept with. Does your book address that, and do you have any quick commentary on
Yes, the first book does. What's in Your Womb?
Wow, so you talked about that before this study came out.
Yeah, but you know, it's, you know, people like Dr. Jewel and Queen Afua and, you know, many, Dr. Phil Valentine, they've been saying this stuff for years.
Wow.
So, yeah, I have picked that up through them. But
so that's pretty accurate then?
it's pretty accurate. And then, so now when you look, when you look at the grid that's in this book, when you had that later, it tells that whole story of how it stays in there. Because of where the uterus sits on that grid. And it sits actually in something that's called the cord of knowledge. Okay? And so, well, and technically, let me say this. When we're having intercourse, you know, a lot of people think that you're not in the uterus. The penis does not go into the uterus. It's the cervix. Nothing goes up there except the sperm.
Okay.
And so, but energy can go that way, but nothing else does. Nothing physical except, you know, a molecule, you know, little small molecules can go there. And so, you know, that's also something that we have to dispel because that's why it's called unwounded, because a lot of what we're talking about, we think we're talking about the uterus, and we're not. We're really focusing a whole lot of attention on the vagina. And in here I give 2 definitions. And again, I have to give credit to my teachers, Dr. Jewel Pookrum, Monique Shabazz, that really, you know, gave me a lot of attention and information about this and about the use of the word womb versus uterus. Womb is a storage place for anything. Now, I was okay with that because, you know, it was like, okay, fine. That's what we store all our energy, you know, even what you were talking about. The energy that you get from past relationships stored in the womb. But the uterus is a little more detailed definition. It is the human, what did they say? It's the holding place for a human embryo. So it's not a storage place for anything. It is very specific, and so that makes it a little bit more sacred than a womb. A womb is a cave, you know what I'm saying? The phone is a womb for information. You know, this is a womb, you know, so anything can be a womb. And so what we want to do is, again, think about ourselves a little bit more in our sacred space. And so that's why this is unlocking the universal uterus.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's very deep, and I can see how it's beneficial and much needed, you know, especially for, you know, our sisters. And I advise anyone watching to get that first one, because that really has intrigued me about, you know, the DNA being stored and then affecting, you know, sisters' thinking and all that. So that's a conversation within itself.
Yeah.
So again, we're at Vegan Flavor Cafe, the new Vegan Flavor Cafe here in Durham, North Carolina, 1720 Guest Road. It's store number 8, right, Brother Yai? 18? Right next to Budget Car Rental.
Or that's Avis.
I think it's Budget.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, and you want to tell them the hours again, sis, that y'all open?
11 to 7. 11 a.m. to 7. Wednesday. Our general hours are going to be Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday.
11 to 7. But
11 to
this
7.
Week we're open pretty much every day.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And your husband already filled us in on what's on the great menu. He said the kale, coconut rice, the tacos, lentils, baked spaghetti, kale. And kale.
And I think, you know, this week Stephen and I are probably gonna get in there and make some of that cashew cheesecake.
Wow. Okay.
Put that on there.
All right.
Well, so come on through.
Yep. Well, this is the Hour of Power with Brother Sharif. Go to Hour of Power, Sharif Hamid on YouTube. Subscribe and share. And this is called Supporting Black Business Part 2, Vegan Flavor Cafe here in Durham, North Carolina. Thank you a lot, sis, and we wish you much success. And you know I'm gonna be here.
All right.
All righty. Thank you. All righty.
Hey, these boots are gone.